Okay. Hey, art scholars of Mount Diablo High School. It's good to see you. We're going to be starting some drawing, because I assume people have pencils and paper, and drawing is an important skill that we can all get better at. So we're going to start learning about cylinders and ellipses. Because cylinders and ellipses are things that are everywhere, and if we can get good at them, they're everywhere. That in our life, we see them every day. And wait a second. And if we can get good at drawing them, then we'll get good at drawing other things. So a cylinder is this three-dimensional form that's like a tube, and an ellipse is a circle. It starts as a circle. Here's the circle. But when it goes in space, like when it goes in perspective, and we'll learn how to draw it in one-point perspective since we learned that, then it turns into this ellipse shape. See? So the top of it, as it turns, I'm not going to turn this sideways because I would spill my coffee, but this shape, when we turn it onto a piece of paper, is it called an ellipse, the circle. And if we can get good at drawing the ellipses, then we'll get good at drawing the cylinders. Okay, so I've got my ruler, a pencil, an eraser, and a paper. So I'll pause while you get your pencil and eraser. And if you don't have a ruler, anything that you can help you draw a straight line would be helpful. Cylinders and ellipses, ellipses, and cylinder with ellipses. And this is some drawings with ellipses, cylinder. Even the shadows can be ellipses. This is another nice drawing with a monochromatic. Oh no, it's complementary. Okay, well they use complementary colors, and they're using some red and green here to shade it, and with these circles, ellipses, and here's an ellipse rotating through space, like dropping a coin. And this is, if you can get good at drawing these ellipses and cylinders, a lot of people who draw figures will use them to make the body look more three-dimensional. So let's get started. All right, we're going to draw something like this. But first, a good thing to practice would be just drawing ellipses freehand. So an ellipse is something like this. When you draw an ellipse freehand, it's good to use your shoulder so you can kind of get used to this motion. And it's okay to go over it a few times until you get it right. Maybe a bigger ellipse. I don't get it right the first time, but if I draw a few lines, my eye just puts it together. Your eye will put it together. Here's ellipses. So if you want to, you could just warm up. This is like a warm-up. Drawing some ellipses. Just to get used to drawing this ellipse shape. And then the cylinder. If you turned it into a cylinder, you always have to remember that this one is going to be round and this is going to be round too. Don't draw a cylinder where it's like this and then flat. Don't do that. Okay, so our project is going to be something more like this. These are look at this, 1 point. So they're cylinders in 1 point perspective, like how we did the name. Okay, so before we draw this, and I show you how to draw these, I want to show you the idea of how to draw an ellipse more mathematically. So if I were going to draw this coffee cup straight from above, it would just be a circle. So if you want, you can trace a circle like this, or draw one. And then around the circle would we're going to imagine it's inside a square, because since it's a perfect circle, it would be a perfect square. And then the circle, we're going to imagine these axes here. This is going to be the X and Y. Okay, so this circle is hitting, here's a point, and it's hitting here, it's hitting here, it's hitting here, right in the middle. Okay, like that. So if I were going to draw a square in 1 point perspective, here's my vanishing point. Then here's my square. Again. But let's say it ends here. So now my square is like this. Slightly in one, so it's sort of tilted. But I still am going to find these axes. So here's my X. Oh, that was a little too X, my Y, and my X is going to be like that. So now when I draw my ellipse, I need it to touch these points. And again, you can play around with finding that curve so that it looks right. So now this is my ellipse. So this is this. And if you turned it into a cylinder, it would go down. And then, let's say if it were a cup, the bottom would be, or tube, the bottom would also have this curve. So that's an ellipse in 1 point with the vanishing point. So we're going to practice making all these like this. So let's start by drawing, let's draw a couple. Well, let's say this is the center. So all our lines are going to go to this 1 point. Then if I were going to draw an ellipse in here, I have to find my, if you want, you could find your Y. Here's the Y. And then we'll decide that, let's say we're going to decide our ellipse is going to be this tall. Then this would be the X. And then my ellipse is going to be like this. Here's my ellipse. Now when I go in 1 point, and if I turn it into a cylinder, I'm going to come down here, and then the bottom of the cylinder, I could do it again. I guess I could do it again, or maybe I'm just going to imagine it. It's going to be like this. I'm going to freehand this one. So here's my new cylinder. Now I can do it again. So this is cylinder number 1. If you get good at it, you can start freehanding, but maybe in the beginning, maybe I'll try a really skinny one here, thin one. So if I draw my Y, my X, and then I try to, here's my ellipse. Yeah, I'm going to freehand this one. They all have to be kind of in perpendicular to this point. So if I come out here and I'm drawing my, it has to be sort of straight, like all the lines have to kind of go like this. Does that make sense? So that they're coming at you wouldn't draw an ellipse like this, really. All right, so then I can put another one. I can put a really big one if you want to put a big one. Here's a big one. Or we could put a big one Here, we'll put a big one here. Oopsie, you can go all the way across here. And here's going to be a big one, but here's the Y. And then here's how big it's going to be. It's going to be this big. That's almost a circle, isn't it? I'll make it a little smaller. All right, and then my Y is going to be here, so it's going to kind of line up with this, but here's the top. And then it's going to go down here, so it's touching this one, I guess. There. That's another one. So, I want you to have 8. These ones are more separated that I did here. After you have 8, to make it a more finished piece, try to do a little bit of shading or cross contour lines. So cross contour lines go across the form. So they would go like, they would be a continued ellipses going. So if this were the cylinder, these are some cross contour lines. Like that. That's cross contour lines. You can also do cross hatching, which is like this, where you would go these cross contour lines like this, but then imagining the light from here. So this is the light side, so this one has more lines to shade it. If the light is coming from here, what happens when you're shading something? Here, I'll do the big one. If we're doing this big one, and you're shading it, you can imagine that it has a rim here. If you want to be, here's a rim. If the light is shining, so what happens is it's shadow on this side when you're shading a cylinder like this. If you're imagining the light here, you're shading on this side because that's the side. I'm still shading in the direction of the contour. So I'm still following this round ellipse shape as I shade. Even if you blend it in, it's still in this direction. This is the light side. Where's my eraser? Here, I'm going to erase this one so we can see it better. Okay, so this will still be the light side. Light. And if it were on a table, it would cast a shadow, and this would be an ellipse. Also, the shadow. But what happens on the inside is that the rim, this is opposite on the inside because the rim is casting a shadow on the inside of the cup. So it's opposite. And it's dark on this side, and the light is shining light here. And the rim itself is very light. So that's how you would shade it. If you want to blend it, you can blend it. So now you have this shade light on this side and dark on this, cast shadow here, and that's how they're shaded if you shade it like that. If the light's shining from the front, it's different. If the light were shining from the front, then it would be, like this. It would be shaded on both sides, still in the direction of the contour. Maybe the front of it, is maybe the lightest. So let's see, if it's doing the light, then that means the dark side from the inside would be here, and it would be light on the outside. Okay, so this is You don't have to do shadows on yours. It's probably better if they're just sort of floating in space. So now I have some different, I have a bunch. If you're just doing the cross contour lines, you can do it like that. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I have 8. So I'd like you to have 8. This is the assignment. Ellipses and cylinders. And there's stuff online if you want to look at other videos. And later I'm also gonna give you some artists who use some information about artists that use cylinders in their work. And I hope you have fun drawing cylinders and ellipses. Okay, bye everybody.